Open the floor to questions for Coach.
We're required to ask this time of year, how many times have you gotten outside in the last few days?
We've actually been out this week. It's been nice. We rearrange our practice schedule to go on Sunday. Normally that's a day off, but it was pretty warm on Sunday, so we were outside, and looks like the forecast is going to hold the rest of the week. So I would imagine we'll probably, at least between Hartog and trying to get our field ready, I would imagine we'll probably be outside a handful of more times before it's all said and done.
Hearing from a couple of the fifth-year guys today, I'm just curious, how would you maybe assess the impact that the fifth-year guys will have on this team, not just being on the team, but their willingness to move around and do what's best personally?
Yeah, that it's a big deal to have those guys back that choose to come back, that don't have to come back, that don't have to continue playing, that certainly don't have to continue playing at Nebraska. To have those guys around is, you can't really overstate their value to the team, just because they've had so many experiences. They've seen the ups and downs. They've been involved in a COVID year where the season got ripped away from them, and now they're getting this year back. But just having that experience, it means everything to the coaching staff too, just because they're older guys that we can lean on in terms of their experiences, and that they can pass along to the younger players too. So their leadership and like you said, their willingness to do what it takes for the team this year, I think is an excellent example to the rest of the players of just, the greater good and just doing what's best for the team. And so those guys are all great examples of that are back for their fifth years, and I couldn't be prouder of each of those guys.
What are those conversations like, especially a guy like Shea or Perry, who've been starters on the weekend? Like, are they offering to go to the bullpen? Do they know? Do you guys approach them? What are those conversations like?
The conversations were pretty simple with those two guys. I mean, once it was decided that they were going to come back, and Perry was going to be healthy, and Shea said, "Coach, I'm all in to come back." They wanted to win, and they wanted to do what it took to win. And when it's pretty rare, it is, to have guys like that they were our Friday and Saturday starters last year for a reason. They had earned that, and on a really good pitching staff. And so, Shea, he's done it in the past in his career. He's done a little bit of both. He's been a closer. He's been a reliever. Even for us, we've put him in that role a few times. And I think he's a position player at heart too. He was a two-way guy coming in, and he's just a guy that likes to be involved every day. And I would say Perry fits that mold as well. And, just coming back, we said, look, we're going to try to do everything we can to make the front of the game, the starters, be as solid as possible, so we can have that luxury. And, if we hadn't gotten to that point, if we didn't feel like we hadn't gotten to that point with our roster, then those guys would probably still be getting, opportunities to start. And so hopefully we can keep it that way, where we feel great about, our starting pitching. But Shea and Perry, two-time captains for both those guys. They have utmost respect from their teammates and their coaches. And, it's a great feeling as a coach to know you've got some selfless guys like that are unbelievable examples for the team.
From a big picture perspective, can you talk about the 1890 initiative announcement today and what it means for your program going forward?
Yeah, I think just in general, the landscape has changed immensely in the last few years, and it's been a little fluid as to how everything was going to be navigated with the transfer portal and now NIL. And we wanted to try to get as much information as possible. There's a lot of good opportunities out there for our players, and I think just having a partnership is going to be outstanding for our guys. We have a lot of great supporters out there in the community that love Husker baseball, and it's just going to be a great thing for our players. I mean, the opportunities that they're going to have due to this type of partnership, it's going to be awesome. It's stuff that, you look back as a former college athlete and, you wish that you had those type of opportunities. So anything that these guys can have to help out, it's going to be great.
Speaking of recent announcements, the university announced that retiring the 3 jerseys of some of the 3 best players in the program history. What does that mean to you as the coach of this program, and just to celebrate some of the best guys who've done it in this jersey before?
Yeah, those 3 guys, I've had a kind of a unique opportunity to be up close and personal with all 3 of those guys through some different eras of Husker baseball. Shane was my roommate all through college, and we don't go to the College World Series without Shane. I mean, he was 20-0 in his career. 20-0 in his career at home at Nebraska. I mean, that in itself is just absurd to say out loud. And Gordo, had a chance to coach him when I first got into coaching, and just to see his work ethic. He was undoubtedly our best player for his entire career, and he was the hardest worker, on those teams. And then with Darren, with Erstad, I keep calling him Coach Erstad, but with Darren, #1 overall pick, won a world title just like Alex did in the big leagues, and then when he retired, decided, you know what, I'm going to give back to the university they gave me so much to, and I had a chance to coach under him. So I think the thing that makes those guys so special is their character and their work habits and just who they are as people. That's allowed them, to make careers in baseball. And certainly I think those three guys are there's some others that you could put in that category as well, but those three guys for sure really stand out, not only what they did here, but what they're about and then what they did after they left Nebraska.
The timing of retiring those jerseys now, this year?
It's just something that we've kind of talked about. When I got here, there was a lot going on, and then COVID hit, and there hasn't really been a great time to do it. We felt like this year was a really good time. There's some other things that administratively everybody's got to sign off on, and without a doubt, those three guys were very deserving. So we felt like this was kind of everything came together this year to do it. And we're excited to honor those guys in March.
You still talk to Shane pretty regularly, or
we do. We communicate pretty regularly. He was here in the fall, obviously for the Hall of Fame induction, and so we've kind of kept in touch through the years, and it was pretty awesome to be part of his journey as a player and to kind of see what he's done outside of baseball. He's been very successful as well. So we keep in touch pretty regularly.
Will, Drew Christo and CJ Hood both got the chance to, pitch a little bit as freshmen, but what have you seen from them as they've tried to carve out, larger roles this year?
Yeah, CJ, we haven't seen a ton of. He had to come back early from summer ball, and we didn't really see him in the fall a ton. And so he's going to still be a little bit limited early on to start the year, just as far as his availability to pitch. He's working hard to try to get back. So obviously a huge talent. I mean, I think he had 17 appearances for us as a freshman. He came in a lot of big situations for us, so we hope to get him back sooner rather than later. Drew had a fantastic finish to the fall. Can kind of see, it's kind of neat as a coach. You can see guys when the light bulb starts to come on. And they just let their natural ability take over. Drew was able to do that towards the end of the fall. We saw him take that kind of into the off season. And he's been fantastic in the live outings here. He's got his velocity back up. Breaking ball looks sharp. You can just tell he's got the confidence back on the mound. It's never been a lack of ability or character, makeup, work habits, anything like that. Sometimes, everybody's got a little bit of a different career path. Some guys, it starts off right away and they're in the rotation right away. And some guys maybe take a little bit longer, but, Drew is going to factor in. He's going to be a guy that we're going to count on to get some big outs for us. And he's got the everything we need to do that.
You guys said you have a lot more depth both on the pitching staff and in your lineup. I mean, how much are you going to still be tinkering and moving guys around and things like that the first couple of weeks of the season as you get going?
Yeah, I think the game will tell us that a little bit, and how the series are going early on will give us a little bit of that. I think offensively, we do feel like we've got kind of different pieces of the puzzle that we could use depending on the pitching matchup, depending on maybe what the weather's like that day, wind blowing in, wind blowing out, which is what you need to have. You need to have some quality depth, not only on your bench, but in your lineup. Just to be tough, to be an offense that is tough to handle, you got to be tough 1 through 9. So I feel like we've got that. We've got a lot of guys that may not be in the starting lineup on opening day that are certainly big parts of our team. So I think we will probably do a little bit of that early on, depending on matchups. A lot of guys are deserving of opportunities too. I'm not big on just giving guys opportunities just to see how they do. I think we have a lot of guys that have worked really hard and have performed well in kind of this preseason segment. So those guys, that are in that mix will certainly get those chances early, and we'll mix and match a little bit.
Who are some young guys on this team? You talk a lot about the experience, but who are some of the younger guys on this team who could make an impact this year?
Yeah, I think Caleb Clark is probably the one that comes to mind. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's from Canada, and you ask his teammates, he seems a lot older than 19 years old. The way he comes across, the way he handles himself, what kind of student he is, what kind of teammate he is, what kind of communicator he is. His care factor is all for the team, which, again, when you're a young player, a lot of guys, it's just natural. You're trying to make a name for yourself or trying to prove your worth. I mean, Caleb has just come in and just been all about, hey, coach, I want to win a championship. I mean, he had a chance to go in the draft potentially, and his response to me whenever he decided he was going to come to school instead of signing a professional contract was, I'm not worried about anything other than winning at Nebraska. And so pretty profound statement for a young kid. So he's been a guy that I feel like his talent and his makeup is going to allow him to probably see the field pretty early for us. And Dylan Carey would probably be another guy, similar type situation. I think he was a Colorado State Player of the Year. He's the number one player out of Colorado, won 2 state championships, went and played in a college league. He said, I want to be ready when I come to Nebraska. I'll go play outfield if I need to. I'll play anywhere. He went in the Mink League and hit .350 against college pitching. Again, that's a young man that's driven to be great. Sometimes it's easier to say, well, I just graduated. I want to stay home and hang close to my friends and kind of have one last hurrah. And he said, I'll go to St. Joe, Missouri, and I'll go play baseball. And so that's a very mature decision on his part. And he's played well since he's been here. And there's some others in there as well. But those guys are – and I feel pretty good about maybe naming those guys because I know that they're not going to get the big head or they're not going to make more of it than it needs to be. It's just they love playing baseball. They love their teammates. And they make it about that, and that's what kind of makes those guys pretty unique.
Well, you're a few weeks into practice. You have a few more weeks before the season opener. So far in practice, is this team what you thought it would be? Are they exceeding your expectations, or is there still more to be desired? How do you evaluate where they are, about midway through preseason?
Yeah, as far as from the baseball side of things, we're still a work in progress, and I tell our guys that every day. I mean, we got to continue to work like we're the worst team in the country, because if you don't, then you get complacent and you take things for granted. So we've got some things we still need to work on from a baseball talent standpoint. It pops off the page in certain areas with velocity on the mound, with veteran leadership, with guys throwing the ball across the infield. There's some things there that you like to see that really good teams have from a baseball standpoint. But just like all of us every day, we're still a work in progress that way. From a team standpoint and a makeup standpoint and a character standpoint, these guys have been the models for what it's supposed to look like to be a team. And they've, a couple of guys you're going to hear from today are a big part of that. Our captains are a part of that. Our veteran leadership outside the captains are a huge part of that. It's fun to coach these guys, and they've made it that way. And it's usually a good sign when you've got a fun team that you feel like is talented. The good results typically happen. So again, we'll see once we hit the field what the wins and losses look like. But I know with these guys, they're going to give each other, us, their university, the city of Lincoln, everything they have every time they go on the field. And that's a great feeling.
It's early, but what is your hope for this season?
My hope for this season is that we continue to get better every day, and that by the end of the year, we're hosting a regional. I mean, and I said it last year. I said it the year before that. I said it when I got hired here and when I stood in this room. That is our goal every single year, is to be a team capable and worthy of hosting a regional. Now, there's a long season that's got to play out in order to do that. And everything we've been doing for the last 6 months has been leading up to not just the first game next Friday, but what we're going to look like in May and June. And so my hope for this season is that we continue to practice every day, show up with joy and intent, and then in the spring that we play hard, fast, and loose, and that when we do that, then we got a chance to be a pretty good team.
You've
feel like you guys have solidified a weekend rotation at this point, or is there still some things you need to see? Before
We feel pretty good about where we're at in terms of some decisions to be made. You know, we got 4 games in 4 days to start opening weekend. Don't know if we'll have 4 starters named the first weekend, but we feel pretty good about where we're at just in terms of that. I'm not quite ready to make that announcement just yet, but I think we feel pretty good about the first 3 games.
Will, what's your plan with Griff Everett? Will he be behind the plate, and how will you move him around in terms of maybe playing in the field, or are you just going to let him DH?
Griff, he'll do whatever. You know, he'll be ready to catch. I'm sure he'll catch plenty. I think he's been working hard at first base. You could see him there. You know, I think he's a guy that he was one of our more consistent hitters last year. And didn't have a lot of help around him, and so he's a guy that's going to have a big impact. So what that looks like, he doesn't care because he's a great teammate and he wants to win, and he just says, I'll do whatever I got to do for the team. But I think you might see him a little bit of all 3 of those roles, and who knows, I might throw him in left field one day and see if he can go catch a fly ball.
Could you speak to Efry too, and just the role that he's going to have, maybe backing up a freshman or backing up a transfer, like just the mentality and the value that he'll have and he'll bring?
Yeah, Efry is he has the highest character you could possibly want in a player and a young man. I mean, he is an extremely hard worker. He's been that since the day he came in, and he served a bunch of different roles for us. I mean, he was on a championship team. He was the shortstop in the biggest moments of our season with Spencer Schwellenbach closing games, and Efry was the guy that would go make plays for us at shortstop. Maybe something that people forget is he got hit in the face in the regional and stayed in the game and didn't even. I mean, he refused to let me take him out of the game. Actually, I was a little concerned about him for about 5 seconds. He said, "I'm staying in the game." So he stayed out after he got hit in the face by a ball and played shortstop. Actually, the game that we beat Arkansas, he finished the game at shortstop there with Schwelle on the mound. He's had a couple of big hits, won us a game against Michigan State that year, had some tough luck to start his career, walked off New Mexico State last year. So he's had some big moments for us, and he's been a great teammate along the way. And I don't know what his role is going to be. He's been ready to play short, third, second, first base. He would do whatever we ask him to do, and do it with a smile on his face because he loves baseball and he loves his teammates. The thing I've been really impressed with is his bat has really come on. We kind of challenged him in the offseason to get stronger, you know, and maybe change his approach, help him change his approach a little bit. That we've kind of we molded him into a certain approach, and we said, hey, maybe this is what it's going to look like this year. And I think you're going to see him be the hitter that he's capable of being, that maybe he hasn't shown all the time. But hopefully, we as coaches, we can help him, you know, get to that point this year. He's been fabulous. He had 6 home runs in the fall. He's been really, really good in preseason. He crushes left-handed pitching, and he's just making a really good move to the ball offensively. So can't say enough great things about Efry. Obviously, his teammates think a lot of him. They voted him a team captain.
Any more questions for Coach? Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.